Hey, welcome to episode 179 of Fresh Air at 5. Summer is in full flight. I'm recovering from being sick, and I bring you two new to me podcasts, as well as some of my favorite regular podcasts that I listen to. So without further ado, it's Elemental DuctTape, my dear Watson.
I'm Andrew Murata, host of the Education, Leadership, and Beyond podcast, a part of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you are listening to now. Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Welcome to Fresh Air at 5, the podcast. I'm your host, Brian Carpenter, coming to you every week from Abbotsford, which is about 45 minutes east of Vancouver, British Columbia, on the west coast of Canada. Fresh Air at 5 is my regular attempt to get some fresh air by walking about my neighborhood, which is located on the traditional and unceded territory of the Stolo people, the Simath First Nation and Mathwe First Nation. I consume podcast content while I walk, then reflect on this content in an unedited video, which I post on my X, formerly known as Twitter, channel every day. This podcast is the collection of the audio taken from those daily selfie videos over the course of a week, Monday to Friday. So let's jump into my listening and learning this past week.
It's July 29, 2024. Fresh Air at 5. Today is coming to you as I vacuum. You know, I'm still not feeling well, but I'm still learning, so that's what I'm doing. I listened to Seeing Delete episode 88 of season 3 today as Chris Jones brings us an interview that he had with Preeton Shaw, who is the author of the Future of AI in Education and how we need to approach our learning, doing the things that we need to do to make sure that we are teaching our skills, the students the skills, so that they can navigate their bright future, because we don't know what it's going to look like, and that kind of scares us because we're supposed to know what it looks like. But if we are not scared of it ourselves, we will be more open to sharing this with our students and bringing them along. I think I need to read another book this summer, so I'm going to order Preeton's book. And thank you, Chris, for the recommendation. Thanks for the interview. Preeton, I appreciate you bringing us your thoughts and philosophies about this. And you're saying that education is not changing. Our goals are still the same. It's just that the tools and how we get there are changing. AI is a tool that can aid and assist teachers in providing more human-to-human time with our students by taking out some of the mundaneness of the work that we need to do. And that is an important thing. So, without further ado, I'm going to carry on vacuuming. Hope you have a fabulous day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Okay, bye. Hey, PLN, it is July 30th, 2024, and today I got off the couch and forced myself to go outside. I'm still not feeling great, but I know it's not cold. It's my allergies. My doctor told me that, so I'm glad for that, and so now I have a plan to be feeling better and getting my breathing all back in order. All right, today I listened to episode 278 of the Easy Ed Tech podcast with Monica Burns. And she has on an IT specialist out of the Durango School District in Colorado. And he was talking about how he used the Gen Alpha episode that Monica put out. She had a discussion with another educator and talked about Gen Alpha on her podcast. Maybe it was another one that I heard, The Truth for Teachers, about Gen Alpha. That's actually where I heard Gen Alpha. But anyhow, he was preparing a day of professional development, and him and his coworker talked about maybe incorporating the podcast as part of that day's bit of learning. And you know, I spend a lot of time every day walking. I hear good stuff. I share it with some colleagues, but I don't share it like maybe in that manner. And so maybe in the future for, you know, I've got to do a Pro D coming up here. I could use some of the content I hear at a podcast in my session and maybe even snippets of it and have people listen to snippets of it and talk about the whole getting going with podcast listening as professional learning. I do a lot of that, and that's what Fresh Air at 5 is about. So Matt, thank you so much for sharing. Thanks for talking about the EdTech Throwdown, talking about the digital learning podcast with Matt and Holly, and also Cult of Pedagogy. I need to start listening to that a bit more myself. Haven't listened to her, Gonzalez, very much, but I should put that on my list. All right, talk to you later. Have a fabulous day, and thanks, Monica, for making the Easy EdTech podcast available to us so we can meet people like Matt. Peace. Bye. One more thing for July 30, 2024. All right, a new to me podcast, because I've never listened to this, and I just mentioned this in the last segment, is the Cult of Pedagogy with Jennifer Gonzalez. And so I had a few minutes left on my walk today, and I went and I found Cult of Pedagogy, and I listened to her summer update for 2024. And she's on a podcast break for the month of July, and wanted to just give us an update about what's going on while she's on break. I'm not sure if she mentioned this in her previous episode, but she's working on curating all of her content that she's got, that she's put together over the years of her great vast experience, into some courses. And so she's developing some online courses. One of them is called, the course is called Teaching 101, and the first module that she's putting together is Mastering the Lesson Plan. And this is so that pre-service teacher or, you know, a new teacher can take a look at this and have some ideas about how to build out the lesson plan, and from the bottom to the top with assessments and inclusive activities and all those things. And so it was really great to hear her talk about this. You know, Jennifer, you and I haven't connected ever, to the best of my knowledge. And I'm going to tag you in the tweet for this episode listen that I have done. But, you know, it's important that we, as we get, you know, into our years of teaching, that we continue to share what we've learned. And this is why I've got my podcast, Fresh Air at 5, so that I can share some of the learnings that I've done over the years about podcast listening, but, you know, professional development sessions and things like that, so that we can bring it to the people that could possibly hear it, you know, not keeping it to ourselves. So I want to thank you for that. You've got some other work that you're doing and other coursework that you're preparing. So if you're a Cult of Pedagogy listener, this is some good stuff that Jennifer's got coming to you. And otherwise, you know, I'm going to jump in and start listening to some of your episodes as we go through the year coming up. All right. Thanks, Jennifer. Talk to you soon. Bye. PLN July 31, 2024 out for Fresh Air at 5 midday. And we've got a cloudy, overcast-ish day, but it's supposed to burn off. And my wife and I and friends are going to take our kayaks down to the ocean tonight in Vancouver and watch the fireworks from the water. So that's a plan. Hopefully it works out and the weather cooperates. All right. Today, as I'm walking, I listened to episode 168 of the EdTech Throwdown with Eric Geis and Nick Johnson, as they bring us an episode where they highlight some ideas for leveraging social media in your classroom, and talking about how, you know, using the formats of social media as a way for students to create some projects and to do some work. You know, making memes and meme generating is a thing that could happen. And as far as, you know, being creative, we can do stuff like that. That's one thing, making Instagram reels, TikTok videos, different ways of taking some of these things and not actually putting them on social media, but having a format for, you know, middle schools and youngers to learn how to do some of these kind of creation things with these tools, such as Canva, Adobe Express. Eric, it is Adobe Express. It changed from Adobe Spark, to Adobe Creative Cloud Express, which I thought was a super goofy change because it was wordy, but now it's Adobe Express, and I'll get a tattoo of that possibly on my arm. I don't have one of Adobe Spark. Should have, because that was classic. But how we can use these tools, these simple free tools, in creative ways to make things that look like other things. So making a Facebook profile, doing historical accounts, like Twitter accounts for historical figures, for example, and taking pictures and giving a tour and putting posts up and things up like that. So this is a great episode. Take a listen for yourself, because they've got some good ideas about some different tools you can use, how you can do these different things in your classroom. All right, boys. Peace out. Bye. The last thing for July 31, 2024. Wrapping up Fresh Air at 5 today, heading on the home stretch to home. I listened to episode 277 of the Teachers on Fire podcast, and it was recorded a couple weeks ago on YouTube on a Saturday morning. And thank you, Tim, for having guest on Tyler Como out of Alberta. And Tyler, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us and all that's going on in your life, and how you've been through so much transition and change in the past 10 years of your educational career. Now you are a principal in Lloydminster at a rural school. I appreciate your thoughts about vision, mission, and values, and how we need to be aware of those for ourselves personally. And you know what? If you ask me that, I can't tell you exactly what my values and mission and vision are, because I haven't written them down. But I have obviously ideas of who I am as a person in my head. And I think I might jump in and take a look at your workshop on Earth on your website, Elemental Educator, about the workshop on determining your mission, vision, and values, because I think I need to get at that. So that's a project coming up that I will jump into. I'm going to reach out to you pretty soon here for that coupon. Yes. Also talking about AI in our world and how we need to utilize it. You said, if we can have a tool that can save us 3 hours by giving us some head start on lesson planning, for example, or understanding that our essay writing practices are becoming outdated because everybody can access an essay, maybe not written them themselves, but how do we know? And we need to get into literacy practices that help students understand where they can go and where they shouldn't go, and talk about ethics and all those kinds of things. Thank you so much for your thoughts. I appreciate it. And I'm going to check out your Elemental Educator podcast coming up. And so that might be a listen for me tomorrow. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon. Bye. Hey, PLN, it's August 1, 2024. Happy August to you. And I'm bringing this to you from midday here in Abbotsford, and it is 27 degrees Celsius and toasty. Oh my goodness. Should have gone for a walk earlier this morning, but I was sleeping because I need some rest because I'm getting over my allergy thing. So, out now and enjoying the day. New to me podcast coming to you now. And this is Tyler Como's podcast called The Elemental Educator. You can find it on Spotify, Apple, other places. And subscribe and listen, because he's got some great content that is coming your way. I like, Tyler, how you have embraced the 4 ancient elements of earth, wind, air, water, and fire. And, I don't think about those because I'm a today chemist, thinking about all the elements in the periodic table, but I like how you have looked at these as ways of framing a conversation. And for you, Earth is about the foundation, about where are you coming from as an individual. On episode 21, you talk with a fellow podcaster who is in the Educational Podcast Network with me for Fresh Air at 5, Craig Aarons Martin. And you talked to him about building a culture of excellence in schools and about his journey as a Black, queer, elementary school teacher and principal, and how Craig has, grown and overcome these obstacles and challenges to be where he's at today. It's about knowing who we are. And if we don't know who we are, it's hard to tell and talk with others about who they are. We have to be comfortable and confident with who we are so that when adversity comes, we're not shaken. Tyler, I appreciate your foundational approach of, us knowing who we are. That's the first step. It's an important step. Doesn't say we can't carry on and do other things, but it's really important that we focus on ourselves and our well-being before we serve others. All right, take a listen to Elemental Educator Podcast. Thanks, bye. One more thing for August 1, 2024. It finally came out, and you can listen to it too now in your podcatcher. It is Teachers on Fire, episode 278, that Tim Cavey has a conversation this past Saturday morning on his YouTube channel with Jake Miller, and the audio is now here. Jake and Tim, fantastic conversation. And Jake, I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you're back and you've taken a rest and a hiatus from all of the things. You've seemed to become more focused and looking at how we can affect the use of artificial intelligence in our spaces. Jake's podcast format coming up on his educational DuctTape podcast is going to be about having a guest on to talk about a specific area of artificial intelligence and learning. And then the following week is an opportunity for us to respond to his conversation. So we can get involved and talk about things we have heard and things that are important to us. So I got to get on there. Hopefully I don't miss the follow-up episode to your I'm Back episode 107. Yes. Okay. Anyhow, besides that, Jake talks about his journey, about how life is getting more impressive for him, and his book writing and supporting teachers in his new role as an educational consultant, teaching adults about education. And so thank you, Jake. Appreciate it so much, and I appreciate your heart for what you do. All right, Tim, looking forward to having breakfast with you this coming Saturday. Talk to you guys. Bye-bye. The last thing for August 1, 2024, I took in season 3, episode 89 of Seeing to Lead podcast with Dr. Chris Jones. And Chris, thank you so much for your episode on prioritize. You know that word, priority, and making important what we say is important. And I like how you take a spin on that and say, get your priorities in order and figure out whether or not they are priorities of habit. And if we become in a habit of doing something that gets in the way of blocking other opportunities and other needs in our life, I think that's important. I like how you gave the example of putting out your newsletter at a specific time, but you noticed that as your family grew and became older after 6 years of doing so, that, your family was waiting and wondering, what they're doing while dad's doing his newsletter, and you shifted your focus to your family. That's so important. We say that our families are important and relationships are important, but we get these shiny things sometimes in our face like, oh, I got to record my podcast. I have to do some work to, on social media, things like this. Can you do those things outside of interfering with family time? I do the best that I can to avoid doing that. So when my wife's at work or she's sleeping in the morning, I try to go for my walk for my podcast so that I'm not interfering with time spending with her. I'm not perfect at it. Neither is Chris, but it's something we got to keep in mind. So thanks, Chris. Appreciate that. And you yourself, what are you prioritizing? And is it a good priority? Because if it is, it'll align with your values, missions, and vision of your life. All right. Peace out. Have a great day. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye. APLN August 2nd, 2024. I'm out this morning early. I left the house at 4:30 and it was 18 degrees Celsius. So quite a bit cooler than my walk yesterday. And I'm enjoying the cool air. The sun isn't even up yet, but Very, very nice to be out walking at this time of day. So I'm going to finish my walk, going to go home, make a cup of coffee, and I'm going to sit in my air-conditioned house or in a pool at my friend's house later today and stay cool that way. All right. This morning I listened to episode 108 of the Educational Duct Tape podcast. And Jake, thanks so much for being back. It was great to hear you in your regular form that I've heard you. And talking with Molly Cloder about academic honesty in the age of ubiquitous AI. And I like that idea of ubiquitous AI because it's everywhere. And, it's not just in one place. It's in all the things that students are facing in their learning. We have to be intentional about teaching them about AI, and I like how you and Molly talk about the intentionality part as teachers, your metaphor about the bison and the cows and the lizard brain and how we need to approach our learning as teachers, as scientists, and be scientific about how we approach these things. So good. I like your talk with Molly about the AI detectors and how that is disproportionately affecting our students and not fair. Our job as teachers is to know our students, and if we don't know our students, we can't have effective conversations with our students. So get to know your students, have them do work in class so that you can see them, and then when they turn things in that are, kind of sus, then, you could talk about it. All right, there's a whole lot more here. Take a listen to this episode. Fantastic. Appreciate it so much. Talk to you guys later. Bye. One more thing for August 2nd, 2024. Okay, Jake, I wasn't done. And you like it when I do this because I just keep on talking about a thought. Episode 108 of the Educational Duct Tape podcast with Molly Cloder and academic honesty in the age of ubiquitous AI. I'm not sure if that's actually the title. It might be academic dishonesty. We have to talk about the honesty part, and the dishonesty will get taken care of, I think. So if we frame it in a positive sense, that we're looking for honesty, not for dishonesty, it's the same thing. We're doing the same job. How do we look for those things? That's so important. And how do we provide students a space to learn about these tools? We can't just send them out into the wild, wild west of ChatGPT. We need to have guardrails and safe spaces for our students. And I like the hearing about Magic School and School AI and the tools that are in there that provide a guardrailed, space for students to drive down and give a try. So thank you so much, Molly. Thank you, Jake. Have a fabulous day. Okay, so I'm still not done. I'm going to add this on to the end of that last segment is, we need to be the humans in the classroom. We need to be the human teacher in this classroom, this digital space that we're navigating and teaching our students about and showing them, not that we can catch them, but that we want them to do work themselves so that they can master this content. Growing them as masters of their knowledge will make them, I believe, want to do better themselves. Okay, that's all now. Bye.
I appreciate you giving me a listen as I've created this podcast experience for you. It's like a unique Blinkist or Coles Notes version of the content I take in, like a highlight reel, so that you can hopefully find some other interesting podcasts you may not have considered before. I've recorded the specific episode podcast titles and episode numbers in the show notes, which are only a click or swipe away for your learning convenience. I've also started to put together a Spotify playlist of each of the episodes so that you can also take a listen to those specifically, and the link to that playlist is in the show notes. Please subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming episodes. And if you enjoyed this podcast and its format, share it with someone else. You can also follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Brian Carr, BRYONCAR, or at Fresh Air at 5. Tweet about your experience or give it a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. Fresh Air at 5 can be found on the Educational Podcast Network. Podcasts for educators, podcasts by educators. I hope you have a fantastic day. Get some fresh air before the day is out and take care of yourself because you are worth it.